Hi everyone, I'm Pam Crone from the California Marine Sanctuary Foundation. We're participating in a Healthy Soils project taking place here at Triple M Ranch, an organic farm growing vegetables and strawberries in Monterey County. We are sequestering carbon dioxide and storing carbon in the soil as increased organic matter through the application of proven management practices. The two management practices we are implementing are compost addition and mycorrhizal inoculation. We are verifying the efficacy of these two practices through an experimental design that includes field monitoring in treatment and control plots for both soil organic matter and yield. Because this ranch sells to farmers markets and small distributors, the crop is harvested in increments as needed for the market. This film is about our innovative yield monitoring techniques for this harvest approach to match diversified small-scale farming.
Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine Mejia Munoz, and I am the Research, Education, and Outreach Associate for the California Marine Sanctuary Foundation. Today we will be reviewing the lettuce yield harvest protocol. Let's get started. Equipment. Crew-trained farm personnel with all necessary tools for harvest. Flags, one color for each data collection, harvest date. Field scale. Make sure that it can hold 50 pounds or greater capacity. And don't forget those extra batteries. And finally, data sheets, pens, and a clipboard. Step 1. Mark harvest areas prior to any harvest activity in the field. Using the flags, mark about 15 lengths of bed per treatment block per harvest date. There will be 2 harvest dates for data collection. Count and record the number of plants in each marked area. This area was determined according to coincide with the grower's preferred maximum harvest per date. Step 2. Prepare the scale and weighing area. Set the scale on a level, stable surface, such as a wood plank, in the field near the harvest area. Make sure to protect from the wind if required. Either tear the scale with the standard container or record the container weight and indicated on the data sheet for later subtraction. And make sure to monitor the scale regularly for tear imbalance. Step 3. Harvest all plants from data collection area and record the gross weights. Use a standard container to weigh the whole plants. Before plants are trimmed, record the total weight. Plants may be trimmed to an ideal marketable size, thus differences in plant growths may not be apparent in the net weight. And step 4. Record the number and weight of boxes packed per harvest area. Weigh each fully and partially packed standard box as it is harvested and packed from each treatment plot. And finally, indicate the number of heads packed per harvest container.
Here at Triple M Ranch, we can hear the birds singing in the background, and we can see the trees growing along Carneros Creek. The workers are harvesting lettuce today, and we're weighing and counting that lettuce in order to study the differences between the control and the two kind of treatment fields that is part of our Healthy Soils Project experiment. Laura, can you tell me a little bit about how the crop is set up to be harvested so that we can do yield comparisons between the controls and treatments?
Certainly. So when we collect yield data, we want to collect a representative section of the field. It's a little bit too much for us to try to collect the entire block for a yield analysis, and so we choose a smaller section. And in our case here, we've chosen an area that's 3 beds wide by 15 feet long per bed. So we can relate that to what is the total area of the block to ultimately get an idea of how much is harvested per acre in that section. But we keep it small so that it's manageable for a crew to collect the information within a reasonable period of time. Another thing is that this farmer is doing a harvest over a longer period. They're not harvesting the entire field at once. They're harvesting it day by day, week by week, over several weeks. And that depends on many factors, including the market, including how the plants are growing. But because of that, we choose 2 locations in each block to have 2 separate dates during which we collect yield information. And so today we're collecting our first harvest date. It's among the earlier days of harvest in this lettuce field. And we'll collect a second date closer to the end of when he plans to harvest. And that's always a moving target, so we'll be in constant communication about when that day will be, but probably another couple of weeks down the road.
So this section of the field has red flags surrounding the area that we will be harvesting and measuring the harvest today. So Laura, can you describe what's happening here?
So what's happening now is we're collecting 2 different kinds of information here. First, we're taking a subsample from the area that we've collected of plants that are being weighed whole. It's the entire above ground portion of the plant before it's been cleaned up to pack into a box for market. We're doing that because there's a possibility that in some sections, if these plants have grown rather large relative to in other sections, and they're really too big to pack 24 heads into a box, which is the standard that we're looking for today, then they will just cut down more of the plant in order to make it fit into the box. And if the plant had been larger, then we wouldn't be able to capture that information. We wouldn't be able to say from one block or one treatment to the next that the plants were larger or smaller. They might all look relatively similar because they are custom trimmed to be able to fit nicely together in the box for a uniform product. And so we're taking a subsample of the whole plant in order to get that gross weight to see if there's a difference between treatments.
So Laura, now I notice that they're putting the romaine into boxes. And how many heads do they put into each box? Is that a number of heads?
Yes, so romaine boxes for the market can be packed in different amounts, but for the size of this lettuce today, they're putting 24 heads per box.
And so then what's done with that box once they put the heads into it?
So these boxes are going to be transported to the cooler, and at the cooler they will be washed. The lettuce within the boxes will be washed under flowing water, at which point they'll be entered into the cooler.
Okay, and from there they go to the grocery store.
From there they go to wherever this farmer can sell them, which might be another cooler, which will then ultimately transfer them to their own markets. It might be a grocery store, it could be a farmer's market.
Okay. And so does the weighing of the boxes make a difference in how much they can sell those boxes for, or is it just sold by the piece?
The boxes are sold by the piece, but there is an expectation that the box will meet a minimum standard weight. And so if and when they sell especially to another vendor, they will do a check and make sure that those boxes are meeting that minimum standard weight. But they will vary a little bit in their weight, and so the box is sold by the piece.
Okay. And so are you counting the total number of pieces that come out between the flags, or what are you actually paying attention to?
So I'm keeping track of the weight of all of the boxes that are packed, and then if there's a partial box, some leftover lettuce that didn't fit into an even number of boxes, then we're weighing that. So we're weighing the total harvest of all of the plants that are marketable coming out of this section that we have selected. In addition to that, before we started, I came through with a counter and I took a plant count on exactly how many plants were actually standing in this field. And so we'll have a comparison of how many plants were growing here and reached maturity versus how many were actually marketable and harvested from each section.
Thank you.